Ahoy, ahoy, and welcome to a brand new edition of the Ramble on Reactions. Sitting right over there is clever Eric Muller.
And sitting right next to me is handsome Dan Nye.
And I'm actually not going to do a joke because this is kind of a serious film. So Eric had the luxury of seeing Detroit, which I have not seen and still really want to. But we're going to review it anyway. So
yes,
Eric,
we are.
Tell me a little bit about Detroit.
All right, Detroit follows the events of the Detroit riots from I think it was 1967. In the framing device for this, it pretty much follows the riots up until it gets to what's called the infamous Algiers motel event, where pretty much the police intervened. 3 African-American teenagers ended up dead, and no one knows for sure exactly what happened in the hotel. And this movie, the centerpiece is following those events in that hotel.
Okay, so the events around the hotel at the Algiers. So, that being said, you probably don't want to go into anything else because there's going to be a lot of spoilers if we do.
Right, unless, you've actually know something about this subject, which, good for you.
Yeah, right. I don't. Did you get a little bit growing up in Michigan?
Yeah.
Okay, so you knew more about it. Okay. So that being said, tell me a little bit about what happened, like these characters, like who played what, how it was performed.
Well, what I'm going to say is first kudos to Catherine Bigelow for directing this film and bringing this film to life and actually making this happen because what she does well is suspense. Look at Zero Dark 30. Look at
Hurt Locker.
Hurt Locker, yeah.
Point Break.
Point Break.
Sorry, that's the joke. That is the joke for this review. We're moving on.
Okay, but she does suspense well, and in this film she does a really good job. She first, sets up the events of what happened in the riot, and then it gets to like I said, the main point of this film is the Algiers motel, and it's not. I messaged Dan this after I saw this. This is not an easy film to watch, and I mean that in the best way possible. Because you're literally with these people inside this hotel room. Sorry, not hotel. Motel. For an hour and about 30 minutes straight. You are there for the entire events and everything that happens. All these different characters, all these different people, and you are there. And she does this on purpose. You don't get a chance to breathe until after everything's done. So you literally experience this whole event for an hour and 30 minutes. So just shouts to some great actors. John Boyega does a good job. He's pretty much the security guard who got roped, stuck in this event. He's just there. His main purpose is to make sure everyone stays alive through the end of the night. Will Porter, he plays one of the crooked cops. He does a fantastic, scary performance. I also like to mention Al G. Smith. He plays one of the people who are involved in the hotel. He's one of the people that's being held up, you could say. Per se, and there he does a really good job, and actually his character is the main character, I say his main arc, because you see him being a singer about ready to perform at the Fox Theater of Motown to him in Motel and then everything that happens afterwards.
Okay. And going back a little bit on what you said, if you know anything about the mechanics of film, is if you're staying on one scene, even for more than, say, 5 minutes, it's got to be hella compelling or there's got to be a damn good reason. So if you're saying it's an hour and a half dedicated strictly to one location, that's going to feel like claustrophobic. Imagine like the movie Panic Room, but like just shrunk down into only a handful of locations.
Or it's like the Titanic, but only told in one room or one section.
Yeah, and so it's like you're going to feel claustrophobic. You're going to feel like uncomfortable. And
you get that because, I mean, after everything happened, the guy I saw his skin. It was just goosebumps all up down his arm. I was almost on the verge of tears because of how intense and how well directed and made that whole sequence was. And the only time you're not in the main hallway is when you're actually going with other people in different rooms.
And I mean, that being said, though, so you said it was like a gut punch, but that's a lot of reason we do this is because we love these movies and we like it when they make you feel things.
And you will feel things.
It's not always going to be joy. Like, unfortunately, we don't do as much horror. We discussed this a little bit off camera. We might start delving a little bit into that. But it's a matter of, like, if it makes you go any which direction because, we're capable of so many emotions. So that's a good thing. Did you have any negatives about this movie?
I mean, the only negative I could see people talking about, and I can see their point, is that this movie does drag on a little bit afterwards. Because this is, like, close to 2 hours and 30 minutes runtime. Wow. But my argument against that is, that's life. You experience horrific events, and it just keeps going no matter what happens. And you experience that in this film, especially for several characters, what happens afterwards. So it's not just, you see them before, you see the hotel, and an end of scene.
Yeah.
And also Catherine Bigelow does a really good job of, she actually incorporates like real news footage, real photographers of everything that happens. So experience as it was happening, per se. And like she even had one of the victims of the hotel there on set every day, giving her notes about what was happening.
And I'm sure that's going to be an intense experience for everybody involved.
Yeah, and like I said, the only other negative thing I can say is it's a little unfocused because, like I said, you're telling so many different stories at once. Eventually, you get one straight line, but it takes a while to get there.
Fair enough. So that being said, grade this film.
A.
It's an A.
Yeah, it's an hands down A.
It's an easy A. One step further.
I know it's hard to celebrate a movie that's telling a story that shouldn't be celebrated, and sadly, we're still experiencing the same fights and battles 50 years later, but it's an important film to see.
Then that's a good point. That being said, where do you see this? Like, what do you think Oscar contention?
Probably Best Picture, maybe Best Supporting Actor for Will. That's about because
no writing, no directing.
Maybe directing because the problem is it's a August release, so
it's not.
The Academy has a short memory.
So is Suicide Squad. Just saying.
Yeah, but that was visual. So
well, yeah, we're just
okay. Maybe some editing stuff too.
Okay, so. All that being said, thank you very much for making it this far. As always, like, comment, subscribe, share. Let us know what you thought. This is clearly a film that needs to be talked about. So let us know your thoughts. Hopefully I'll get to see it here in the next few days, next week or so. So, sitting right over there is Clever Eric Muller.
And sitting right over there, it's Handsome Dan Nye.
As always, anchors away.
Ramble on.